Chapter 11. Vilmos at Pavel. Vilmos spent 7 long, lonely years in Yusi Cave, learning whatever Iniko was prepared to teach him of Nartesk's magic. Vilmos believed Irina was dead, as did Iniko. The powerful aura of the wolves protected the wolf girl from the sorcerer's far-seeing magic. "When will I be able to go home?" Vilmos asked one day during one of Iniko's visits from the Narrowlands. The spell he'd been practicing had gone wrong for the 4th time. "You fool," Iniko said with undisguised contempt. "You can never go back to that miserable hovel you call home. Don't you know King Harmon will keep on looking for you until he finds you? He's got 3 bags of gold on your head, and when he finds you, he will kill you." "If he finds me," said Vilmos in a trembling voice. "If." "I've had just about enough of coming to visit this uncomfortable cave," said Iniko. "I want to go back to my underground palace of good. You don't seem very grateful." "Oh, I am," said Vilmos hurriedly. "Can I come with you?" "Certainly not," said Iniko. "I've wasted enough time on you already. The dragon wants war, but the combined armies of Pavel and Ragnar are too strong for the Narrowlands army at present." "So what are we going to do?" said Vilmos. We, sneered Iniko. "Who do you think you are?" "A way must be found to divide their armies. It may take a few years, but the dragon is prepared to wait, as long as we pinch a little boy or girl here and there." "A little boy or girl? What do you mean?" "The dragon must eat, you idiot. He prefers the children of the south, naturally enough. Narrowland's children will one day be his warriors. Had you succeeded in bringing Irina to us, that would have been a most delightful gift. A pity you failed." "I will not fail in my next task," said Vilmos. "You told me you had work for me to do." "Yes," said Iniko. His eyes narrowed in their doughy flaps. "If you succeed this time, we will make you a wizard of Nartesk, answerable to me and the dragon. You'll get all the spells you want, loads of gold. King Harmon wouldn't dare taunt you. He would be afraid of you. Why, we might even kidnap Chloe for your wife." "That would be..." Vilmos couldn't find words to express how satisfying he found these ideas. He thought rapidly. "A disguise," he said. "I'm good at disguises." "Yes," said Iniko, flaring his nostrils like a horse. "Go on." "I could disguise myself, pose as a wise magician, of the Jansong even. No one would suspect who I really am." "You would have to go to Pavel Castle," said Iniko. "You'd give yourself away at Ragnar. You're so ridiculously in love with that silly queen." "She's not." "Don't defend her," said Iniko. "I'll say what I like." The next day, Iniko and Vilmos parted ways. As soon as he returned, Vilmos shaved off his beard and dyed his hair acid yellow, using a pigment made from canola flowers. Bad thoughts had given him a pinched, unattractive look, no matter how much he scrubbed his skin with oats and honey, so he cast a magic glamour over himself that made him appear younger and sweeter. When the glamour faded in the evenings, he would have to hide. A few days later, bearing a crystal ball that Iniko had given him, and posing as a good magician, he presented himself to King Nicholas's court at Pavel. King Nicholas was surprised to hear there was a wise man of the Jansong, who wished an audience with him. "Very well," he said to his servant. "Disarm him and show him in." The king was in his private den. It was a comfortable room with rare stained glass windows, unlike the roof holes that allowed light into peasant huts. The wooden floor was covered with a hand-woven rug stitched with colourful flowers that his wife had given him as a wedding gift. Young Prince Andor often hid inside the window seat in the den to be close to his father. He was there now, peeking through a crack in the wood and breathing softly. King Nicholas didn't know that his son was there, but his bodyguard, a wolf called Staley, sometimes looked straight at Andor through the crack. Although Staley knew where Andor was hiding, he never alerted his master. Andor heard footsteps and a stranger's voice speaking. "Traitor at your service, your majesty." "What business do you have here, Traiton?" Andor heard his father say. "I've studied the laws of the Junsong for many long years," said the stranger, "and I have come to offer my services as a magician and wise man." "And what makes you think I need a wise man? Am I not wise enough to rule Pavel on my own?" Unlike Andor, King Nicholas could see the wise man's face. This Traiton, with his blonde prettiness and funny smell, seemed too young to have acquired real wisdom. Pavel's old wise man, Baruch, travelled beyond the Crystal Sea some decades ago. Perhaps it's time for a new advisor. Vilmos watched Staley pacing protectively backward and forward in front of the window seat. "How do I know you are wise?" said Nicholas. "I have a crystal ball. What would you like to see most of all?" King Nicholas was startled. He'd heard of crystal balls, but never seen one. "My wife," he said quietly. Vilmos drew the silk cloth away from the beautiful glassy sphere, which glowed with swirling colours. Nicholas leaned forward and gasped when he saw, in a haze of golden light, the slender figure of Queen Emmeline with her hands raised. "She's on the other side," whispered Vilmos, "in the shining realm." "Does she speak? Can you hear her?" asked the king. Inside the window seat, Andor could hear something very tender and sad in his father's voice, and it made him want to cry. "Yes, she says she loves you," said Vilmos slyly, "and that she wants to see her son." Andor's heart thudded in his chest. "I'll have him sent for," said King Nicholas. "No need, your majesty," said Vilmos. "He's right here." Staley looked at Andor through the crack. Andor put a hand over his mouth. "What do you mean?" said the king, still entranced by the vision of Emmeline. Vilmos strode to the window seat and raised the lid, hoping his guess was correct. Andor wriggled, frightened of his father's anger, and found the magician's face looking down at him with a delighted grin. Like most children, Andor saw more than grown-ups. This handsome face with blonde hair seemed to be hiding another face within it. "What are you doing there, boy?" asked Nicholas as Vilmos hauled Andor out. Vilmos was thankful for Iniko's magic mirror, which had shown him Andor's habit of this secret hiding place. "Don't be angry with him," said the wily magician. "He just wants to be close to you." Andor ran to his father's side, and the king put his arm around his son. "Look," he said, "there she is, your mother. Isn't she lovely?" Andor stared at the image of Queen Emmeline inside the crystal ball. He felt something very tight in his chest and he grasped hold of his father's hand. "May I look closer?" he whispered. "Yes, son." Andor knelt by the crystal ball. He barely remembered his mother, but how he missed her. Tears welled in his eyes. The Queen was not smiling. Why wouldn't she smile at him? She was shaking her head, mouthing some words. All over, Andor's skin prickled into gooseflesh. "What's she saying?" he asked. Vilmos dropped the cloth over the ball. "That she loves you, of course," he said. "We have to cover it up now. Too much exposure to this world is not good for those in the Shining Realm." Andor looked up at his father, who was smiling gently. He hadn't seen anything to worry about. And Andor wasn't sure what he had seen. Was the woman in the glass really his mother? He looked at the magician, who lifted his brows at him creepily. Yes, the magician saw, thought Andor. King Nicholas was so affected by the vision of Emmeline in the crystal ball that he wanted to see Drayton again immediately. As for her warning, when Andor tried to explain what he had seen, Nicholas dismissed it. "All I feel when I see her there is love," he told his son. What could she possibly be shaking her head about? Over the years, Nicholas came slowly to trust Vilmos. Eventually, he was given his own room in Pavel Castle. Vilmos was clever. He knew how to imitate the appearance of goodness. He stayed close to Nicholas and learned many of the secrets of the kingdom. He also learned much about King Harmon and Queen Chloe.